Hey, welcome back to the 3 Hour News Show. You are now watching our signature segment, See the Stories. As mentioned before on the highlights, we will learn about the 5 stages of grief. Well, it sounds kind of gloomy, but I think it's important that we learn about this because everyone experiences grief differently, and identifying stages of grief can help you to anticipate and understand some of the reactions you may experience throughout this grieving process.
That's right. I could not agree more. And I believe today's topic is relevant as we just celebrated Mental Health Day 2 days ago on October the 10th. Now, without further ado, let's welcome clinical psychologist Mutiara Maharini to talk more about 5 stages of grief. Hi!
Hi!
Thank you so much for
It's
being
so nice
here.
to be here.
You want to learn more? Okay.
Yes.
Before we start, I thought it was 7 stages of grief. So is it 5 stages of grief now?
Okay, so it's actually 5 stages of grief. That's how it started. But there are a few people, there's like new theories that it might be actually 7.
Ah, okay.
But we're going to talk about the 5 one today, right?
Yes.
And that is actually popularized by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. I think you guys have heard that name. Should I just explain it?
Explain the whole concept of the 5 stages of
Okay.
grief, provided a framework for understanding emotional responses to a loss.
Yes. So just like you said, the 5 stages of grief is actually meant to help us, because the thing about grieving, everybody who ever loves someone, something, will experience grief. It's just like, for me, because I'm a dog person, every time I get a new dog, I realize that I'm actually signing a contract to be very sad maybe 10 years later, because the dog will die, right? And of course, I'm sure everyone here has experienced a loss, whether it's because of death or an end of a relationship, or even losing a thing. That could also cause grieving. So to make this complex journey that we have to go through every time we lose something, lose someone, Kubler-Ross has helped us to understand those complex emotions by giving 5 stages. So the first stage is actually denial. All of these stages are quite straightforward. So denial is when we refuse to believe what is actually happening. We can't accept the loss that has happened to us. And usually this phase, if somebody dies, let's say, it's like the first 24 hours, you kind of feel like you're in a dream. And you're like, is it really happening? You start questioning, is it really happening, or is it just in my mind? And then it's like when you see the body, you're like, oh, you kind of stop having your denial because you really see that that's reality. But if you're far away, the denial stage might be a little bit longer because you feel like, no, I think he's still alive. There's nothing that has changed, and that makes us feel safer. But that actually is part of denial. That's the first. Usually the denial stages are a bit longer when it's kind of a shocking incident, like maybe somebody dies because of an accident. That might cause a longer denial. And then the second thing is, after, let's say, you see the dead body, you feel angry. Why did this happen? If, let's say, somebody, let's say has an accident, you might be angry because, like, why did this happen to him? Why did somebody crash him? Why was that person speeding? Or if somebody, dies of a sickness, why couldn't the doctor save him? But even after you're, questioning everybody else, you might also start to question God. God, why are you doing this to me? You're angry with God. And you might also be angry with yourself. Why didn't I spend more time with this person before? Why is this all happening now? And then after that, the next stage is bargaining. So to kind of help ourselves, because when we lose something, we also feel like we lose a certain aspect that we can control in our lives. When we lose someone, it's like, I used to be able to meet this person, now I can't meet them anymore. I used to hang out with this person, now I can't meet them anymore. So we try to have a little bit sense of control by bargaining. God, if you bring this person to, to alive again, to be alive again, then I will pray 5 times a day. I will be a better person. You try to bargain when in reality, you really don't have any control over the situation anymore. And then the next stage is depression. That's when you realize, oh, okay, I really don't have control anymore. What has happened, and I can't change anything. I can't bring that person to life again. I can't force someone to want to be in a relationship with me, and I can't, bring my dog so that he will be alive again.
Yeah.
And then you start to feel hopeless, helpless, and a deep, deep sadness inside of you. And if you are able to go through that stage, then hopefully we all will be on the stage of acceptance. So acceptance is about not trying to control something that you can't control anymore. It's also about being able to see and understand the present as it is. So that's the 5 stages, the brief description of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I like how that's actually the brief one. I wonder like what's the longer one. So one might wonder, do you have to go through all these stages in the stage of to exploring your stage of grief, or can you jump, or like can you go back, or how does it work? Or let's say, all right, I start with the denial, and then I go to anger, and then I'm not even bargaining or depressed. I just go ahead and accept it. Let's say I lost my phone. I was
Yeah.
I need to find it. I cannot find it,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
acceptance.
So can we skip a couple
Right,
steps
and then
or not?
it's the good news. Now I can buy a new phone.
Well, that's another way of looking at it.
Okay, that's very positive. Not very financially wise, probably. But that is a very good question. A lot of people ask this question about the 5 stages of grief. We have to remember that its purpose was actually so we can understand the grieving process better, right? So it was designed so that we understand that, oh, these might be the stages that I go through. But in reality, it isn't like that. Us humans, we're very complex. We don't even understand ourselves, right? We don't even understand others, our closest ones, and we aren't that predictable, actually. So every human has actually a different and unique experience of grieving. And it's like, it's not only like, okay, me, this is how I grieve. With my dog, it's like this. Then with my grandma, it'll be the same.
Yeah.
No, even with someone different, then it will be also a different process.
Right.
So this framework, it's not like what would I say? It's not strict. It's not always like, okay, after A, it goes B, and then C, and then D, and then E. It's not like that, but it's just a bigger picture so that we can understand and feel that, oh, what I'm feeling is normal. So if your question is, can I go from denial and then to acceptance immediately? Then yes, it can happen. And let's say for people who actually have already like chronic illnesses, that might happen for us, if they die. It might happen, the denial, the anger, the bargaining, the depression, it might actually all happen before they, actually die. So that when they die, we actually feel acceptance. And then, sometimes people are immediately able to say that they're in a better place. And actually mean it, genuinely mean it, because, they saw the suffering. But, like I said, when it's unexpected, when it's very shocking, then it's most likely you are going to experience denial. But sometimes people think that, oh, I'm already acceptance. But then suddenly they realize that them saying that they've already accepted was actually part of their denial.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, they're like not being honest with themselves. So there is no strict rules. Like when somebody dies, you don't have to be like, okay, now it's time to do denial. No, it's not. It's not like that. It's not like that. It's actually just a bigger picture to help you understand, a framework to help you understand. So please don't, feel even more pressure because of it. Please don't feel that you're weird. Please don't feel that, you're not validated. That is definitely not the purpose of this framework.
Okay. Now, each individual is different. I feel like when this happens to me, I think I spent a lot more time in denial stage, right? That would be me. But is there any specific or typical duration for each person to go through each stages?
Okay. This is the not so fun part about psychology.
Okay.
We cannot say anything about that because every human has their unique experience. And that's actually what makes us humans. And for that reason, it's also what makes us so interesting because every single person will have a different story of their grieving process. And we cannot say that, oh, okay, you're in denial now. I'll see. In 2 weeks, you'll already be in anger. Like, you can't do
Back
that.
in 2 weeks, please.
You can't do that.
We'll talk
You know,
about anger.
It's like even, the economic situations,
Yeah.
people have, made calculations and what, but they still can't predict it, right?
Right.
It's like, what about humans? They're even more complex than that.
Right.
So we really can't make those predictions. That's the not so fun part. It's what keeps psychology alive. It's that mystery.
Now, do you have to get to the acceptance stage in life, or I mean, like these stages are, as you mentioned earlier, they are set to let us know, hey, it's okay to feel this
Yeah.
way. But at the same time, do we need to get to that? It's like is acceptance like the final goal for everybody, like, or like as earlier, like how long can we stay in denial, or like do we need to move on? Like, all right, enough with denial. You need to move
Yeah.
on to, I don't know, depression. I don't know if that's even better, or like, so is the goal acceptance, or is just a matter of like knowing, okay, you're here right now, let's just work on this, and then like what's the end?
Yeah.
Is there an end goal, or can I just be okay? Like, let's say I'm angry right now of what's happening. Can I just be angry and just let it be angry?
Well, here's the thing. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, those are actually sort of emotions.
Okay.
Well, bargaining isn't really an emotion, but in the act of bargaining, there is an emotion of, trying and kind of like, you want to negotiate, you're not satisfied with
Yeah.
what is there, right?
Yeah.
Those are all emotions. And the thing about emotions are, they're all neutral, and you are supposed to experience a big, diverse emotions. Not only denial for the next 10 years, not depression for the next 3 months. You're supposed to experience lots of emotions, even in one day.
Okay.
So, as healthy humans, if we realize we're having any of these emotions intensely for more than 2 weeks, it's already a sign that we should seek help.
Oh,
Because we really should be able to feel lots of emotions, and it's okay if it's intense, but not
Yeah.
for too long, because that will make us kind of stuck. And if the question is if the end goal is acceptance, yes, it is, because acceptance isn't an emotion. It's actually a situation where first you don't deny reality anymore, and the second is you can live in the present and understand, whatever is in front of you as what it is. And can you imagine living a life but not really seeing what it is? You're still stuck in your head. You're still in denial. You won't be able to function well because what you see is actually different from what reality is.
do you feel like inside out right now? Like,
Yeah,
I feel like I want to call somebody like, all right, denial, time to give time for joy.
Yes,
Where's
yes.
Joy? Joy, come back.
I love Inside Out. Thank you. Makes my job easier.
Now, talking about Inside Out, it's a kid's movie.
Yes.
Or, adults can relate to it. Now, I have a 7-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Oh.
So, my kid, my 7-year-old, do you think, when can she, notice that she's going through this, and how can I help her?
Okay. Well, if it is about a loss, usually that's quite, you can see the trigger, right? Let's say there's a loss of a friend, loss of a family, so you can see it happening. But the interesting is about children, they have different reactions based on their developmental stage. So I'm just gonna make a bit of a generalization here, but under 5 years, so your 2-year-old, is it she or he? She will actually show her emotions quite genuinely and honestly. So basically it'll be more crying, more tantrums, maybe a loss of interest in playing or a loss of interest in eating. So it's quite obvious, right? But the thing is, as kids grow older, after 5, like from 5 to 12, like elementary age, they learn to suppress their emotions. That's actually something we learn, not something we're born with. And once she, is it also, so once she learns to suppress her emotions, then she will show it in different kind of behaviors. So it's not that she doesn't cry, but it's more of she might suddenly be aggressive. Let's say she starts bullying someone at school, or she doesn't want to go to school. And at that age, it can get a little bit tricky because you might be thinking they're acting up, they're not behaving, but it's actually a cry for help.
Okay.
And I need to add one more, just in case anybody who's listening, has a teenager. For teenagers, it's also a bit different. They're more similar to us. So when they're going through this whole grieving process, it's usually more affected on their productivity. So they can't focus, the difficulty concentrating, and then they tend to have suicidal thoughts. And that can be quite heavy, especially for teenagers. So keep an eye on your teenager if they are going through a grieving process.
All right, so I don't even know how to bring it up for teenagers to talk about that.
Yeah.
So talk to us about how does a counselor or a therapist play part on this whole process? And if I'm not mistaken, you mentioned if you have these strong feelings, like let's say anger or denial
Yes.
for past 2 weeks, that's something that need to be fixed.
Yeah.
Is that where we? At the same time, I don't know if I have a denial or anger. Oh, it's been 2 weeks since I have that denial, so it's time for my daily therapist. When do we need to go, and then how do you guys can help with this whole process?
Yeah, so that is one thing that you can notice about yourself if you're feeling big, intense emotions for more than 2 weeks, and it is affecting your daily life. So your work, it could be also your sleep, how you eat. And we have to remember, it's not always how the movies explain depression. It's not like, oh, you don't want to eat anymore, but it's sometimes eating a lot. Or it's sometimes it's not a loss of interest in your activities, but sometimes you go to the gym, usually you go every day, but now you go 3 times a day. So there's a change in behavior, and you notice that, okay, I think this might be my way of coping. But I think this isn't very healthy. You start noticing that it's affecting your daily life. It's affecting the relationships you have with the people around you. And it's definitely time to seek help.
All right.
Definitely.
Noted. I just want to let people know, at home, if you see me at the gym more than once, it's just because my pants doesn't fit anymore. It has to.
Yeah, I think it's okay to give him a little poke, right?
All right, so don't go anywhere. The stories will continue after the break, so stay here because we are going to have more conversation.
Yep.